What are the big trends and focus that a chief information security officer needs to be aware of? And last time we went in and we looked at AI, regulations, standards, zero trust, and cyber numbness. And then today we're going to talk about a few more like metrics and communication leadership, cloud, third-party ransomware. Hopefully we'll get through them today, but you never know. Welcome to Life of a CISO. I'm Dr. Eric Cole, your host, and we'll be taking you on a journey each week on what it takes to be a CISO and what are solutions that you can implement today if you are currently a Chief Information Security Officer or if you want to be one in the future. This is Life of a CISO. Welcome. I hope you know what time it is. Here we go. It's time for Life of a CISO with yours truly. Dr. E is in the house. Now, I hope you're super excited because we do like these part 1, part 2 episodes where I sort of leave you on a cliffhanger, right? Where it's like, okay, what's going to happen next? I don't know. I'm going to date myself a little bit. But growing up, I used to love watching Batman. And if you watch Batman in the 80s, it always ended on a cliffhanger, right? It always ended where Batman and Robin were captured and they were about to die. And they were like, what's going to happen? Will they survive? Will they make it out? Tune in next time, right? And it was sort of fun as a kid because it was like, oh, what's going to happen? Now, the reality is you always knew deep down inside they were going to make it, right? Because otherwise there wouldn't be Batman and Robin anymore. So you always knew they were going to make it, but you didn't know how, right? You didn't know what was going on. So maybe I didn't leave it on that much of a cliffhanger, but if you're just tuning into this one randomly, we're talking about cyber trends for CISOs. What are the big trends and focus that a Chief Information Security Officer needs to be aware of? And last time we went in and we looked at AI, regulations, standards, zero trust, and cyber numbness. And then today we're going to talk about a few more like metrics and communication leadership, cloud, third-party ransomware. Hopefully we'll get through them today, but you never know. Cliffhanger, this could be a 3-part series, right? Just so you know, I always spend time sort of connecting and really figuring out what my audience needs and really just sort of connecting with you at an energetic level. And then I always plan out an agenda, but I don't read from a script. So I just sort of see what comes to me, what needs to be covered. So sometimes I have the best laid plans. Like last time when I recorded the part 1, I actually thought I was going to get through each of them. I thought I was going to spend 2 or 3 minutes on each. There was about 10 of them and knock it out in 30 minutes. But clearly we had a different plan and covered a lot more detail. So I hope that was helpful and in depth. But yeah, just so you know, I always have a plan, but I sometimes deviate in terms of the content. Now, the big question I really want to lay out on why I'm doing this series, why we're talking about cyber trends, is focus and clarity. What are you really focused on, and what is your end state? The end state as a CISO is to really be a chief officer that's focused on information security. I sort of think sometimes when we say CISO really quick, that we get lost in the noise and everyone thinks information security. And everyone thinks, oh, technical cybersecurity. And if you've been listening to me at all, you know the mantra, and I repeat it over and over and over again because I keep seeing people make the same mistake of thinking that a CISO is a technical position, thinking that it's all about the cybersecurity, the technical nuts and bolts, when in reality, that's secondary. If you're not a chief officer, if you don't have the respect of the executives, and you're not invited to the executive meetings, and you're not involved in the day-to-day activities of the business, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle as a chief information security officer because You don't have the respect. You're not involved. How can you be a chief officer that's responsible for the growth of the business if you're not involved in decisions about growth, if you're not involved in decisions about strategy? And this one, my friends, is a battle that all of us need to work together, because that's very rare. I know a few cases where there's some really well-respected CISOs, and they are part of the core group. They sit in the executive suite. They have chats with the other COs, CEO, COO, CFO on a regular basis. They're involved in the day-to-day meetings, and they're involved in all the board meetings, and they're involved in every strategic decision that the company does, from growth to new products to new investments to acquisitions to mergers, etc. They are there with that core team. They are part of what I call the core five. The core five, your goal, your focus should be part of the core five, which means CEO, COO, CFO, Chief Legal Counsel, and CISO. It might take years, it might take your career, because this is a paradigm shift, but the reality is this: both sides want it. When I really talk to executives and we really go into what I call therapy sessions, or Dr. Phil, where I get them to really open up and just be honest with me about their concerns and issues around security and tech in the business. And they're like, Eric, we need help. Security is an issue. We know it's the ghost in the darkness. It could hit us at any time. I've seen companies that thought they were doing great. They're on an amazing trajectory. And then all of a sudden, boom, cyber attack, and all chaos breaks loose. Revenue goes crazy. Stock prices fluctuate. Team totally unorganized. Business units are totally misaligned, and it just towards total chaos. And they go, and that's the one area we have trouble predicting. We can predict potential legal upcomings. We know how that works. We can predict financial, like recessions and crises. They have all of that down. And in terms of hostile takeovers, competition, all those things, they have a real good handle on. They have predicted analysis, and they know what's coming and what's happening, and they have a pretty good handle on it. They go, but cyber is the one area where we don't really have anybody that we could trust, anybody that we talk to and involved, and most important, we don't have any modeling or predictive analysis that they're providing. Like, what they really want from you, the CISO, is they want some guidance and direction. Not the sky is falling, not security engineers where there's so many risks, we're in trouble, blah, blah. No. They want honest assessment of, okay, we're tracking a few hurricanes right now. And it looks like these are going to go to the north or the south or the east or the west. But there's this one here that we're sort of concerned that it's sort of heading right for us and could hit us in 2 to 3 weeks. And that's what they're really looking for. Or, okay, right now, we're tracking everything, and it actually looks okay. We actually look okay right now in terms of what's out there and what could hit us and what could happen. But they're just really looking for an honest assessment, not too much, not too little, but okay, where are things at with ransomware? Where are things at with extortion? Where are things at in this area and that area and that front? They're looking for that guidance and direction. And one of the big trends we're going to talk about today is on that communication front, on really what that communication is. So here's the question for you. Are you clear? Are you crystal clear on where you want to be in 6, 9, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, on what it actually means for your career to be a world-class CISO? Because I think this is the piece that's really missing. When I coach CISOs one-on-one, this is the part that it's always sort of that deer in the headlights, where we go in and we talk about a lot of things, and we talk about where they are, and I say, okay, you are either a CISO or you want to be a CISO. You're deputy or director, or you're on that path. Are you clear on what it actually means to be a world-class CISO? So when we say world-class CISO, and you're saying, okay, what does that look like? And how long is it going to take you to get there? Some of you, honestly, where you're at, even if you're an existing CISO, just with corporate culture and all the current roadblocks, it might take 2 years. So some of you, if you're new, it could take 3 years. Some of you might be farther along. It could take 6 or 9 months. The reality is the time frame is, to me, a little less important. And here's why. Because what we're really concerned about is not when you're going to get there. What I want to make sure of is you know where you're going. And then every day you're doing things to get there. Every week, every month. So every week on a Saturday morning, you go, you get a cup of coffee or tea, or my treat is I love cold beverages. I don't know why, so just an iced beverage to me, like on a Saturday morning, especially heading into fall, just sounds really, really nice. I mean, I'm not a big coffee drinker. I make fun of folks, but I will tell you, a good flavored iced coffee from your favorite coffee shop, especially now we're getting into fall, like a pumpkin latte with sweet cream. Oh, yeah, I'm one of those that do that weird ordering, right? That I always make fun of people, but it's nice. Whatever it is, get yourself in a good state. I like to sit outside. When it gets to fall time, I like to find a little fire pit and just sort of sit outside, little fire pit, little water feature if possible, right? And just sort of just connect and say, okay, how did we do? How did we do this past week? How did we do this past month? And just sort of, are we on track? And what adjustments do we need to make for me to get to where I want to be? And this can be something where you do it as a whole. So as a total person, and you can incorporate different features. I like to sort of break it down where, okay, as a whole, where am I going? But really in body, in mindset, in relationships, and in business. And of course, this is life of a CISO, so I'm going to sort of have you focusing on the business front of CISO. But the reality is, if there's things in your relationship that are bothering you or holding you back, you're in unhealthy relationships, or you don't have any, we're not meant to be alone. So you don't really have a lot of friends or relationships, or you're really worried about the past, or you're not in good health. You can't be a world-class CISO if those other three are off kilter. So even though I'm talking about a CISO, I care about you as a person, and I've learned personally that if there's health, mindset, or relationship, if those are not at a good, healthy level, it's going to hurt your ability to be a world-class CISO. So just spend some time really focusing in on, okay, what do I need to work on? And what I always do is every week, I just ask 3 simple questions. What do I need to keep doing? What do I need to stop doing? And what do I need to start doing? It's sort of just a little simple thing of, and then each day, I'm sort of focused on, okay, I need to make sure I do this. I need to really be aware to stop doing this. And then I really need to start doing this. And then I try to schedule it in to my calendar to sort of make sure I'm focused and doing it. And then every day I sort of ask, am I on track? Am I on track? So you need to get crystal clear on what it actually means. What are the skill sets you need to be a world-class CISO? If you're going to sit in the executive suite, if you're going to meet with the executives every day, if you're going to be conversing with CEOs, CFOs, and COOs, those are your new BFFs. Those are where you spend your time. That's who you're hanging out with during the day. That's who you're hanging out with at night. That is now your life. You're no longer geeking out. Yes, you work with your team. You spend time with your team, but that's not who you are. You are not a security geek. You are not a security engineer. You're not hanging out with geeks every night. You're not hanging out with geeks on weekends. You're focused on being that world-class executive with a focus of cybersecurity. What does that really look like? What skills do you need? How do you have to show up? How do you have to behave differently? How do you have to look and act? All those things become critical. And then every day, you're basically asking yourself, am I doing things to help me become a world-class CISO? Now, I'll give you a little hint. One of the stories that have sort of changed my life, and you could read the whole book, I'll give you the summary, but essentially what I do multiple times a day, and it drives every decision I do, is I ask myself a simple question. Will it help my boat go faster? And that might sound a little bizarre, but let me share the content with you. So going in to the 2000 Olympics in Sydney, Australia, Great Britain did something interesting. When they were selecting the members for their rowing team, instead of selecting people for specific boats, so you have like the single boat, you have, I think, a 2-person, a 4-person, and an 8-person. What they did is they had everybody try out for the single. And then the best rowers, they put in the single. The next best rowers, they put in the 2, and the next best 4, and then basically the ones at the end, they put in the 8-person boat. Because what Great Britain basically said is, we're going to bet our energy on the smaller boats. So even though we put our less experienced or not as good or not as fast rowers in the 8 boat, we're not really expecting to win that. We have to put somebody there, but we weren't really expecting to win. We're really betting all of our money on the smaller boats. So you can imagine that the folks who were selected for the 8-person boat, they knew they weren't the best. They knew they were sort of the slowest, and they were sort of the last choice. So you can imagine they had a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, that they had a little bit of an attitude. And they sort of got together right after they were selected and had a meeting and said, listen, we're not going to the Olympics to lose. We're not going to the Olympics to win bronze. We are not going to the Olympics to win silver. We are going to the Olympics with one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to win gold. And if anybody disagrees and anyone's got a problem with that, quit now. But that's a non-negotiable. And they all got obsessed with it was gold or bust. There was only one medal. They weren't interested in anything else. So then they said, okay, if we're going to win gold, what has to happen? What has to occur? And they decided that in order to win gold, they needed to have the fastest boat. Pretty obvious, right? So they didn't know the speed of who they were competing against, but all they knew was their boat had to be the fastest. So they came up with a simple question. They said, everything we do as a team, everything we do as an individual, we're going to ask a simple question. Will this help the boat go faster? If it helps the boat go faster, we do it. If it doesn't help the boat go faster, we don't. So for example, they were one of the first ones where they started doing a lot of long distance running, because they said is, if we're able to run long distances, will that help our endurance, our leg muscles, and us to be able to compete? Because literally with an 8-person boat, most of them come out really fast and run out of steam near the end. So they said, we need to be fast the entire race. So will running help us? Yes. So they did it. So they did these unconventional things where people are like, wait, 8-person boats, you don't do weightlifting, you don't do a long distance running. Like, they were doing very unusual things, but they asked a simple question. Will it make the boat go faster? Yes, we do it. Personal life. Friends called them up and said, hey, you've been working so hard. The Olympics isn't for another year. Why don't you come out and just have a few drinks with us? We're just going to relax, have some fun, chill out. And they asked the question, will hanging out with friends, being out late, not getting enough sleep, and drinking beer, will that help the boat go faster? No. It'll actually make it go slower. So they said no. So essentially, they sacrificed everything, personal life and everything else, for over a year because they were obsessed with, will it make the boat go faster? So what if you had that obsession in your life? Will this help me? So basically, will it make the boat go faster is, will this help me achieve my goal? Will this help me get better at achieving my goal? So what if every day at work, when there's things that come up and firefights and chaos and distractions and everything else, instead of you just doing what you've always done and sort of running around, putting out fires, being super busy and feeling like you're not getting a lot done, what if you stopped and said, okay, will this help the boat go faster? Will this help me achieve my goal? And if it's not going to help me achieve my goal of being a world-class CISO, I don't do it. And the interesting thing is, it's your body is not going to like it because it's so used to doing what it's always done. So what you're doing is you're doing massive pivots and changes in your body and your mindset. And you're going to be like, oh, but if that doesn't get done, we're going to have a... No, guess what? If you weren't at the office, it wouldn't get done and it'd be perfectly okay. Most of the things that we do at work and in our personal life are distractions. Just let that sink in. I know some of you might fight me or get a little offended. Go, no, Eric, you don't understand. No, I do understand. I've lived and I've been through and I recognize and work with a lot of people. Just let this truth sink in. Most of what you do on your daily basis is a distraction from your goals and targets and who you need to be. And I know that's sort of a hard pill for some of us to swallow, but it's truth. Now, what if, even if you're a little skeptical and you're like, Eric, you're a little nuts, what if you worked with me here? What if we believed it was true for 30 days? What I always ask my coaching clients to do, and I ask you to do, is you're spending time listening to me. If you're my coaching clients, you're spending a lot of money working with me. Can you trust me for 30 days? Not asking for a year, not asking for a quarter, 30 days. Can you just trust me for 30 days? Not a week, because that's not enough time. But can you trust me for 30 days? So what if for 30 days you went in with the premise that most of what you do is a distraction and your goal is to just... Now, if most of it is a distraction, we could probably say 75% of what you do, you shouldn't be doing. Now, I'll be honest with you. If I told you to do every day, stop doing 75% of what you normally do, your head would probably explode. You couldn't handle it, right? Your brain and your internal checks and balances and subconscious mind would just... But what if we just keep it simple? Just 10%. 10% of what you do each day is a distraction. And we're just going to, a couple of things. Just a couple of things each day we're going to stop doing, and a couple of things each day we're going to start doing. And then the other things we can keep going. And the way we decide that is by asking that simple question. Will it make our boat go faster? Will it let me focus in on what I need to focus in on? Now, this is what I love about my podcast, and I hope you love it, is I sort of went in a different direction. I feel like I need to go back and change the title because I guess in reality, if I give myself credit, that is a cyber trend. That individuals are doing things that are a distraction, that are not aligned with being a world-class CISO. I'm gonna turn this thing right back around. So we just hit a really, really big cyber trend, and I'm gonna tie it to two others. So yeah, this is absolutely where I see the time right now. Absolutely gonna be a 3-part series. But what I want to finish up with is the leadership. One of the big cyber trends for CISO that's tied to what I just talked about is being a leader. You are not a follower. You're not a security engineer. You're not taking direction. Even though you technically, as a CISO, might report to the COO or the CEO, right? You're not the CEO. Even the CEO reports to the board of directors, and even the board of directors reports back to the CEO. So everybody in a business reports to somebody. But here's the reality. When you get to an executive level, you should be deciding what you work on, and then you tell them and they get buy-in. And this is a trait, I'll tell you. Even if you're a security engineer, I know folks that are fairly new to security and they want to be a CISO in 3 to 4 years listens to this. So even if you're in that position, I'll give you a hint. What every manager is looking for is somebody who can self-lead. My employees, I have some junior employees, some senior employees. My favorite employees are the ones that come to me. So I have some junior employees, and some of them I have to task and tell them what to do. That's okay. But the ones that come to me every day and every week and say, okay, Eric, here's what I'm working on today. Here's my focus. Here's my output. Here's my deliverables. Here's the expected dates for it. Is that okay? I love it. They're self-leaders. They're self-guided missiles. They listen and understand what I need, and they automatically come up with a plan and present it to me. That's what your company wants from you as a CISO. They want you to lead. They want you to come to them and say, okay, here's the plan. Here's the maintenance of what we're doing to maintain the security. Here's the storms that we're tracking. And here's what we're proactively going to do to make sure that we can handle that, or that if a cyber attack hits, it will have minimal impact to the business. They want you to lead. Now, it's also good to be a listener. So you should still in meetings listen to what they're saying, and it's okay to ask questions. One of the big trends I find with CISOs is they either are waiting for somebody to tell them what to do, or they think they know what they want to do and they don't listen to any feedback. So leadership is sort of this two-edged sword. On the one hand, you want to listen and get feedback. You want to hear what they're saying. You want to say, do you have any big concerns? Do you have any big issues? What right now frustrates you the most about cybersecurity? If you could change one thing in cybersecurity, what would it be? If you could go in and create the world-class CISO, what would be one critical thing you would like them to do differently? And notice what I'm doing. I'm asking questions that take me or the emotion out of it. Because if I went in and I said, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing that you don't like? Most people don't like personal confrontation. Most executives are not going to want to piss you off or get you angry or frustrate. So very rarely are they really going to be honest and sincere. But if you noticed my questions, I took all the emotion out of it. I said, if you were hiring a new CISO, or what frustrates you about security, not about me, not about the position, not about the department, but just about security in general. So there's an art to asking questions, and there's an art to listening. And many CISOs, just to be honest, don't have that. I'll just share with you. I didn't have that skill for a long period of time. I actually, as a security engineer, when I was at the CIA, I kid you not, I went and hired an English teacher from the local high school, and I got tutored every week. Every week I went back to an English tutor to learn how to write, how to communicate, and how to express myself. Because I was self-aware that in school, based on limiting beliefs and other factors, I always felt I was good at math and science, and I wasn't good in English and history. So never really liked it, never really paid attention, didn't understand the importance of English. But then I started noticing when I was getting in professional experiences that people really weren't listening to me, that I really wasn't communicating. Like I would send out emails, nobody would reply. Other people would send out emails and everybody would reply. So I'm sitting there going, wait a second. Why do they reply to their emails and not mine? Because my emails were confusing. They ranted. They were very focused on me. And they really weren't clear on what wanted. They were more very, just being honest, I wasn't intending to do this, but they were very self-serving ego boosts. I didn't think I was doing that. I thought I was being sincere and asking questions, but it was really all about me, and I was trying to just get confirmation of what a great job I was doing. And that's not really effective. Nobody really liked to play with that. And therefore, I was recognized for being really smart, but I was literally locked in the back room at CIA headquarters and basically thrown food 3 times a day and was given these technical tasks that nobody else could do. But I really wasn't interacting, growing, leading, or communicating with other folks. So that was an area that I recognized I needed to work on. So just self-reflecting on this. What if you just start saying, what do I need to become? What does a world-class CISO look like? And then what changes do I need to make? And I urge you to do my challenge. What if for 30 days you accept the truth that most of what you're doing is a distraction, and you start to make changes every day to start focusing on asking that simple question of, will this make my boat go faster?